Hello there. I'm going to throw two words at you. Teen, employment. What do you think of it? There are many stereotypes associated with teens, but are they actually reasonable? Obviously, as an adult, it is a necessity to have a job. What about teens? Do teens really need jobs? Many people consider jobs as a transition in our lives from our lives of dependence as children to our lives as adults. Now, let's look into this transition. How hard is it for teens to get a job? Is it good for teens to get a job? What about our education? We're going to learn about this in this documentary on Get a Job! We're here at Westdale Secondary School. We're going to be interviewing a bunch of teens. Let's take a look at how teens feel about jobs.
I am actually employed right now.
I've never been employed, no.
Yep, I have a job right now.
Nope.
Yes, I'm employed in the summer.
Yes, I'm currently employed.
Not yet, no.
Yes, I have.
I'm currently employed. I haven't, no.
Yes, I've been employed in about 3 places over the past year.
In total, we interviewed 12 people. Of those 12 people, 8 of them were employed and 4 were not employed. Let's compare this to what we found in our research. On a global scale, teen employment has decreased. Also in America, Canada, everywhere, teen employment has decreased. Globally, in 1998, 55% of youth were employed. Now it's just 51%. In Canada, since 2000, teen employment has also decreased from 51% to 35% in 2015. When we're talking about gender, there is definitely a gap between male and female youth, but it might not be as you think. Female employment is actually higher than male employment. Ever since the 2000s, female employment has risen, even to the point where it's passed male employment. So, 29% of female youth are employed, while only 27% of male youth are employed. Interesting, right? Well, when we're talking about students enrolled in school, this drops even more, around 10%. Around 17% of male youth are employed in school, while 20% of female youth are employed while in school. In the admittedly small sample size of our interviews, the gap was much bigger. All 4 females we interviewed were employed, while only 4 of the 8 males we interviewed were employed. Let's talk job trends. In terms of unemployment, teens are definitely at a disadvantage. What if I told you that teens have something that adults do not? Teens are more likely to find a job quickly. More quickly than adults. So, apparently, 67.6% of teens can find a job in merely 3 months or less, while 58% and 54.9% of adults can do this very same thing. Oh, what? Oh. Sorry about that. In 2012, the youth unemployment was 2.4 times that of workers aged 25 to 54. Adding on to that, teens are more likely to be laid off by their employers than adults. Outrageous, right? We are not even talking a year or several months. We're talking about a single month or less of employment. 60.4 times. 60.4%, the majority of youth in 2012 were employed 1 month, then laid off the next. after this shocking, but not that surprising revelation, we decided to look into why teens don't want jobs.
Because I don't feel it's necessary until later on.
I've applied for a few jobs before, but never got one.
I really just don't want to work in anything food related. Because as you can tell, most of the jobs teenagers go or apply to is usually involved in the food department, which I do not want to do.
I just feel like I'm always busy with school. Like I have football in the first semester, powerlifting second semester. I'm always busy. Get home at like 7, 6 sometimes. So I just didn't really feel I have time for it.
Of the 12 people we interviewed, only 4 of them weren't employed. Of those 4, only 2 of them could actually be considered unemployed as they were actively looking for work, whereas the other 2 were either busy or didn't want a job. When we're talking about teen employment, pressure is definitely an issue. It makes you feel like your whole world is spinning. Well, of course, there are many things that cause teens to be pressured in their lives. Well, it's often to do with the adults in their lives. They feel like they need a job because an adult told them to. Who exactly? Their parents. Now, who else? Maybe some other friends they have. Peer pressure. Maybe some other adults in their lives. Maybe even teachers. There are a lot of people telling teens to get a job because it is seen as a transitional experience. They get to learn to work with money. They get to learn certain skills, and they get certain experiences they need for other jobs. Let's see what the interviewers have to say about this.
Sometimes, yeah.
I did, yeah.
No. Yeah, I think so, yeah.
A little bit, but I do feel like it's a good idea to get a job before you really have to, just to see what it's like.
Not so much right now. not so much right now because my parents know that they want school first, right? So maybe as I get older, I'll obviously have to eventually get one soon. So.
Well, my parents really wanted me to get a job, so sort of, yes, yeah.
Not from my parents or anyone, just from myself, I guess.
Oh, because, a lot of people say, like, you have to get a job, or else you're going to be, like, a failure. So sometimes it feels, like you have to get a job.
I don't know, like, your parents are always on your back about getting a job as a teenager, so.
Because you need the experience, and my parents would want me to have a job and have that experience before I needed it.
In total, 5 of our interviews said that yes, they do feel pressure to get a job, while 3 said that they didn't feel pressure to get a job. Now, how hard is it for teens to get a job? Let's think about this a little bit. Low requirement jobs are some things that teens can get. Of course, if they've done it previously, like had some previous jobs, that will help them. But this conundrum faces teens all the time. How do I get a job if you need experience? But that experience is got only by jobs which need experience from other jobs to get. Well, it's actually not that hard to get a job. It depends on the job though. What kind of job do you want?
I think it's pretty hard getting a job. It's hard to get the initial callback because there's, I didn't have a lot of experience because it was my first job. And I think that's like the hardest part, getting in.
I think it might be, yeah. It's hard to say. I think teens maybe don't even apply for jobs that they maybe think they could get, but aren't confident enough or think that they're not right for the job. But if you apply, you might just get it.
It'd be pretty difficult. It's not easy to get a job. That's why there's so many unemployed people in the world.
No, I actually knew one of the managers, which got me in, so she pretty much helped me in right away.
Yeah, applying was hard, because, like, no one would take you, right? It's like having no experience.
No, it's actually pretty simple. I'm the only one who applied.
Not really. Most of the things you just apply online, so it's like you just
put your information in and then they call you if they need you, basically?
I really think it depends on the field and what you like. Like if you're gonna be very specific as to what you want, like a food job or retail or something like that, it's gonna be harder to find. But in general, it should be pretty easy, I guess, for me.
Five of the people we interviewed said that it is hard for teens to get a job, while the other five said it is not really that hard for teens to get a job. So where do teens work?
Dairy Queen.
Dr. VM Jenny's medical office.
I work at McDonald's.
At a local church.
Tim Hortons.
I'm employed at the Dawson residence on Hamilton Mountain.
I was employed at McMaster for their sports and social team, and I would set up field and regulate games. And I'm currently employed at the Colin McDonald School down the block, and I just watch the little kids from 3 till 6.
There is a wider variety of places that teens that we interviewed were working. Of course, you still have the stereotypical ones that work at fast food places. 3 of the people we interviewed worked there. But the other 5 worked in different fields. The one thing that they all had in common, though, is that they were all low-paying jobs. Times are definitely changing. Teen employment has been subtly decreasing over the years. Since 2000 up to 2015, it's decreased from 52% down to 35%. We know that there has definitely been an increase in education. Teens are becoming more educated than they used to be. There are more courses available, there's more things for teens to do, and therefore there's less time for teens to have time to have a job. With all these different conclusions and directions, we got our heads spinning. So we started to ask our teacher how he felt about teens getting jobs.
I think it's a great idea because it just teaches you a lot about the real world and also puts some cash in your pocket. And I also had a job when I was a teenager. When I was about 17, I got a job in a hospital. And it was great because you meet all kinds of people and adults, you work with other adults, and you meet people out of your normal social sphere that you would have in school, and it's just all around, and you get money.
We've got to learn many things through the course of this documentary. We've got to learn how teens feel pressured or not pressured when they get a job. We've got to learn what kind of jobs teens have. We've got to learn how education affects teens' jobs. Well, what we have yet to answer is a job necessary for teens to have? I conclude that it isn't. Times have changed. Education is much more of a priority in teens' lives, but it doesn't mean that that is the same thing for all teens. Essentially, teens have opportunities, teens have choices. They have different pathways than they did in the past, or more accessibility to the pathways than in the past. And what we can conclude is that teens are changing. And that means jobs and the necessity to have a job is also changing. So what we can conclude in the end, after all of this, is that it depends on the teen. It's not necessary to have a job, but jobs are a transitional experience. It allows us to work with money. It allows us to make money. It allows us to get experience towards future jobs. We can use this and much more in the future. Now, unfortunately, most of our statistics come from America. That's just the reality of it. There's not too many surveys that are done for Canada, for Canadian teens. Why? Because obviously there's less of a population in Canada than in America. And there's probably more surveys being done in America in general. Now, one reliable source we use is Canada Statistics. Other than that, most of our sources are American. Now, why should we use American sources if we're Canadian? There's a lot of similarities between American and Canadian youth, so why would the employment rate be any different? Now, unfortunately, the economy is a little bit different. America's a little bit better off than us right now, unfortunately, not politically, of course, but we must take into account a lot of the statistics that American surveys do. Thank you for watching our documentary. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I hope you've learned several things about teen employment. Thank you, and goodbye.
Yip, 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 yip. Sha-da-da-da, sha-da-da-da-da. Sha-da-da-da, sha-da-da-da-da. Sha-da-da-da, sha-da-da-da-da. Sha-da-da-da, sha-da-da-da-da. Yip, 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 yip. Bum, 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 bum. Play the jive. Sha-da-da-da, sha-da-da-da.